Hello YouTube chess lovers and my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to the 58th episode of Dirty Chess Tricks. In the tournament practice, if you come across a person who is regularly employing 3c3 move order against your favorite Sicilian, then this video will provide you a great shock weapon. The line I have presented here not only contains lots of tricks, but if white is not careful, then just within the opening stage, the game can be decided very quickly. After e4, c5 and knight to f3, the setup I am going to recommend here is hyper-excited dragon, which start with g6. After as expected response 3c3, which has a clear intention to grab the center, we are going to respond this with a very calm move, bishop to g7. Okay, white is more than happy as he is going to get the center immediately with d4. And after c captures d4 and c captures d4, you can easily see that white obtain a very good center. But no matter, this is exactly black wants, because now we are going to hit back the center with this thematic Sicilian break d5. So immediately white has to decide whether he wants to capture on d5 or push forward with e5. The most popular choice here is e5, and that we are going to look in detail. However, if your opponent continues with e captures d5, then I believe that after knight to f6, not only black regain the pawn with his knight, but later on white get this isolated d pawn, which can become a clear-cut target in the middle game. You can easily search this position in database and find out how easily black can play against the system. However, our big concern is what happens here. White expand with e5, grab every single space at the center of the board, and asking black what your bishop is doing on g7. Well, to some extent that's true, but on the other side of the coin, black has a clear target, namely this d4 pawn, and every single piece are now going to aim the d4 square, which, believe it or not, gives black a good counterplay in this opening. Here black has many choice, but the most important move you should remember is bishop to g4, pinning down the knight, thus pressurizing the d4 square. Now if you check this position in online database, you will find out that there are two popular responses here from the white. One is bishop to b5 check, which I personally don't like, as black can simply play knight to d7, and I have attached a model game in the PGN which will give you a very good idea how easily black plays in such alliance. However, we are going to concentrate on the other popular choice by white, namely a combination of two moves, knight to c3 and bishop to e2. And I must tell you that with my own experience, whenever I reach this position, majority of my opponent choose this setup as it is rock solid and some way very natural to the white camp. So let's check out what kind of problem white can face when he goes for this popular line. Knight to c3, knight to c6. So threat is very simple. We want to play bishop captures f3, and if queen takes, then d4 pawn drops. So by force white has to take with the pawn, which results in a bad pawn structure. So accordingly white continue with bishop to e2, And black's next move is very obvious, knight to h6. So you can see that knight is heading towards f5 square, where it pressurizes more on d4 square. So accordingly, white has to play h3 at this position. If he castles, then it will transpose to the line which we are going to look in detail. But let's check out the most critical move, h3, and after that, there is no second thought. Yup, you are going to capture on f3, and after bishop captures f3, for a time being, we cannot play knight to f5 as our d5 pawn hangs, so we need to protect it with e6. And we reach to one of the critical junction of this line. Here white has two choices. Amongst them, if he continue with the move g4, which at first sight looks so great because it restricting this knight. However, after g4, the problem in the white camp is he can never castle on the king side, and king is never safe on the queen side, where on the counterpart, black can simply play castle and quick f6, which gives him a very good attacking chances on the white king. I have attached a sample line in the PGA which will give you a very good idea how to play against this move g4. The more natural for the white player is to castle on the king side, safeten the king, and at the same time we are going to castle on the king side, which sets the platform for big upcoming trick. Now, as per the database, there are 3 moves has been tried, but against each of them, black has some nasty reply which finish up the white at the opening stage. The first move I want to consider is bishop to e3, which is a reasonable move protecting the d4 and completing the piece development. However, it doesn't stop our thematic plan, knight to f5, not only hitting the d4, but same time if black wish, he can continue with knight captures e3. Just to illustrate my point, in one of the high level game, a 2400 rated opponent continue from here queen to d2, which looks very natural, white aiming for the move bishop to g5, and queen to b6 is not a threat because white can easily defend with rook to d1. However, believe it or not, after black's next reply, white instantly get a losing position. Before I move on, I like you to pause this video and find out that super move which literally kills the white. Well, we are going to witness one of the most amazing trick in this line, which happens after black's super reply. f6. What a move! Well, idea is very simple. Black is going to grab a pawn, and the problem here for the white camp is he cannot defend on the e5 square, and the most natural response in the world, e captures f6, fails due to the simple move queen captures f6. And suddenly there are 4 attacks unleashed on the d4 square, and even if white wishes, he cannot defend the d4 pawn and infect the game. So that is one of the trademark trick in this line which you should always watch out. Play the move f6, and when white capture with the queen, and suddenly the d4 pawn is doomed to the death. You can see the rest of the game where 2400 struggles, and after all he resigned in just mere 29 moves. Well, apart from bishop to e3, what happens if white plays other moves? Well, the impact is more or less same. For example, white can continue here with g4, which once again restricting the knight to f5 idea by black. But what it doesn't stop it Yup, the typical freeing break, f6, and after e captures f6 and queen captures f6, not only black is hitting the poor bishop, but once the bishop moves, then we can simply nab this pawn and black emerge with a clear-cut advantage. Probably the most critical move here is bishop to g4, which has a simple idea that if knight comes to f5, then white bishop will chop it off. However, even against this, black has some nasty tricks in the bag. First of all, black is going to capture this bishop, and after queen takes, you cannot play f6 immediately as e6 pawn hangs, but what you can do is first deflect this queen with h5. Now white queen has to stay in protection of d4 square, so the only logical response is queen to d1. Afterwards, no prize for the guessing black's next move. Yup, it's very obvious, f6. Well, black has two choices. Amongst them, f4 is a pretty bad one. Even though that pawn chain looks so impressive, black has this lethal response, queen to b6, and white get immediately losing position. He cannot play bishop to e3 due to the simple move queen captures b2, so that's not a choice. And if white tries to defend the d4 pawn with knight to e2, then the simplest continuation is pawn takes, and here there are many good choices, rook captures f1 or knight captures e5, but I like this simple move, bishop captures e5, which gives once again black a healthy pawn advantage. Last but not least, what happens if queen to d3 attacking on g6? Well, we have no issues. We can first easily defend this pawn with king to h7. And now white has to play f4, as after e captures f6 and queen captures f6, once again the d4 pawn is a goner, so that's not a good choice for the white. Let's see what happens after the move f4. Well, after that, the task is very easy. We are going to capture on e5, and after f captures e5, the same old story with just a few twists. First, we are going to take this rook, and after king takes, now comes queen to b6, attacking twice on d4. Bishop to e3 is the only logical reply. After this, black has this decisive move in the picture, rook to f8 check. Kindly note, king cannot go to e1 or e2, as queen to b2 is a very strong reply. So accordingly, white king has to go to the g1 square. Afterwards, the star move from the black camp, bishop to h6, destroying the defender of d4 square. I reached this position against a 2100 rated opponent, and after bishop takes, king takes, black is threatening two pawns, so my opponent wisely defended with queen to d2, defending b2 as well as giving me a check. I played king to g7, and now he thought that he is back in the game with rook to d1, perishing every single threat. But what he missed is, yup, the simple but very effective knight captures e5. So you can see in all these lines, black emerged with an extra pawn, and even though sometimes white can see it, he cannot do anything about it. In this game, probably my opponent thought that this is not possible due to the knight to a4 move, but after queen to c6, he realized that he has lost the pawn for absolutely no compensation. That's it guys. I hope you enjoy and learn this mini informative video on how to play against 3c3 Sicilian. Remember, when you reach this critical position, no matter whatever white plays, play this thematic break f6, and once you reach this position, no matter however white wriggles, with accurate play and a 1 point advantage, you always get a driving seat on the board. Well, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment on this, and I'll meet you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.